Okay, so for this video we're going to talk about squats, one of the most basic but also functional exercises that you can do for your legs. And what we're going to want to talk about is just how to do it well and then also make sure you're not hurting yourself. So we're going to go ahead and demonstrate it real quick. So if you just do one squat and touch the bench, come back up, good. So if you notice, what she's really focusing on is actually keeping her weight back in the heels, and so what that does is it keeps the knees behind the toes. The farther the knees are forward, the more pressure you begin to put on the knees. So first off, it's really important to make sure weight's in the heels and your weight is back. That'll help keep your knees protected, so we're not having knee injuries. Then also what you're going to want to focus on is stance. So she's already actually in a good stance. She's got her heels shoulder width apart. That's what we want to focus on. Now, that's not for everybody. I mean, obviously everybody's going to be a little bit different, but roughly heels shoulder width apart. And then toes slightly pointing out. That's important because also in our hip joint, there's not a perfect angle straight forward. It's actually really good and healthy to just come out a little bit towards the side. So she's in good stance. She did a good job of keeping her weight back. Go ahead and do one more squat. Good. And so what you're noticing also is she's putting her arms forward. What that does is that helps keep center of gravity. So that's also a good technique when you're doing body squats. Then she also focused on keeping her chest up and back. So it's almost like you're sitting into a chair. That's also important because it puts less pressure and stress on your lumbar and your lower back. And it also helps engage the core. So things that you should be feeling in the squat is your glutes, the back of your legs, and then your quads. You may be feeling your quads a bit as well, but then also your core, the front of your stomach. You should also be feeling that a lot. You may also be feeling the extensors through your back, and that's okay, but as long as you're really focused on keeping your torso up and back, go ahead and do one more squat. Good. Also, a technique to focus on is breathing. You want to actually inhale down and exhale up. That's just an overall technique that you want to do with most exercises. When you're doing the contraction of the exercise, we have to exert the most amount of energy. You want to exhale and breathe. It's also important to make sure you're breathing, so be aware of your breathing. You'll see the level of where she's going down. Go ahead and do one squat and just stay. Good, and you can even sit. So for this right now, she's really close to being in her range of motion. What you want to focus on is going parallel to the ground. So you can see actually her quads right now are really close to parallel to the ground. She can do that if she's comfortable enough. She can go even a bit lower, but you don't want to go much lower than parallel to the ground with your quads. That will help focus on engaging the glutes, but you want to make sure too that the degree is not too low to where you're putting pressure on your knees. So make sure your knees feel comfortable, that your back feels comfortable, your hips are feeling comfortable. Go as low as you can without any pain. The lower you go, the little bit more you're going to get out of it. But the most important thing is making sure that your knees are back, your core's engaged, and your breathing is done well. A few other things that I wanted to add with the squats is a big focus on the angle of the knees going down. So when you do your squat, you want to make sure that your knees stay in line, pointing in line with your toes. You don't want them to come in, and you don't want to be rolling out. So that's really important with the angle of your knees when you're doing those squats, coming up and going down, making sure those knees stay in line with your toes, as long as your toes are slightly pointing out. And then as well, focusing on how to get to this place of being able to go up and down and keeping your chest up and back. It's a great way to just focus on getting a chair or a bench that's about the right height, and focusing on sitting down. You can even get your torso up and back, and then focusing on trying to keep your torso up, coming up and back. You may be finding that line where you almost begin to fall backwards because you're trying to keep that weight back so much. That's perfect. It's a great way to test that and to try that and to get better at keeping your weight up and back, engaging your core, and then also making sure for consistency, being able to touch something until you get familiar and your body is used to going a certain distance down, and then you don't have to use anything behind you as well.